What's up, guys? Nathan here, also known as Lil Okie the Monk on US Proudmore. I finally have another key commentary for you guys, and I'm sorry it's been so long. Basically, we had the Windwalker nerfs, the Windwalker compensation buffs, and then we had sort of my group going through a little period of time where we were struggling to time keys. But we're back again, and we had just came off a very nice tyrannical, inspiring necrotic week, and maybe it just has something to do with the level we play at, or just the fact that I don't know, like the way our group tends to play, which is we focus on being sort of defensive and trying to maximize our performance of mechanics above most other things. But we don't actually struggle with this kind of week that much. Like we timed, I think it was either 3 or 4 brand new keys for us at the 19 level this week. And it was a lot of fun. And we're starting things off with a Halls of Atonement here. And as you can see, we did the pretty standard pull at the start for us, which is the double pull, not the triple pull, into the Bloodlust, which is just fine because Bloodlust is up just in time for the first boss or the second boss. Actually, I'm not sure which one we use it on here, but either way, Bloodlust is up by the time we need it. So let's talk about the affixes a little bit. We have Tyrannical, Inspiring, Necrotic, and by most people's accounts, at least according to the Wowhead article written by our friend Teddles, this is a Garbaggio week. You don't do Mythic Plus this week. Most of it is, of course, just Tyrannical, right? Tyrannical is considered just the bad week or whatever. But also Inspiring Necrotic can really sort of inhibit Tank's abilities to do massive Giga MDI style pulls. And that's pretty obvious when you think about the nature of the affixes. Obviously, Inspiring, if you get an Inspiring mob in the middle of a pack where you have to get casts, well, good luck. Hopefully you can kill that Inspiring mob instantly. Otherwise, you won't be in having a good time kicking things. There's also Necrotic, and Necrotic, pretty self-explanatory. If a tank just sits there face tanking, it'll eventually become unhealable while also taking a pretty hefty physical dot. These are not affixes that really bother us too much with our playstyle because we tend to do slightly smaller pulls, I guess is probably the best way to put it. And then also at the same time, the way my tank sort of puts it is like in Shadowlands, you're constantly running for your life anyway. So it's like not like Necrotic is going to be that big of a deal. So over here, we're just doing our pretty standard pull up to the first Hulkus. Running with a mage does allow us to get decurses in it. I think most people know this, but for those of you that don't run with a mage for whatever reason, it can be a very useful thing to have access to decurses. It means you only really have to kick the things that are going to be doing raw damage. AK, I think in this case, it's just the Wicked Bolt is the only thing you have to kick on those obliterators, because Curse of Obliteration, I'm not actually sure if that's the name of the cast, but anyway, the curse that goes off, you don't really have to kick that, right? You can just call your mage to decurse you. Obviously, it does cost a global for him, and if he's in a combust window, he'll probably re-hit you. But so this is actually the first interesting part of this pull. So these little guys on the sides, the Groundkeeper, or as my warrior refers to them fondly as the Little Rees, these guys are not supposed to be pulled because we're supposed to kill the Hulkus, and then we instantly get a Pride. So here, we're running away right here, and we can't invis this Pride or anything. Killing the Pride would be frustrating because we have the Groundskeepers, so my tank is instantly going to have like infinite Necrotic stacks, which would be unfortunate. So instead, we're doing the extremely high IQ strategy of run the fuck out of the key. I'm not sure which one of us called this at this point, but whoever did was pretty genius, because this should have been a dead key by most people's accounts, but instead we chose to just run on out. I think my tank dies too and runs out, or maybe he comes all the way out, because he as you can see, he was sort of tanking the Pride. Yeah, he comes out here with the Pride on him. We're waiting a second, we're letting everything reset, and we walk back in. I think tank goes in, he's double checking, making sure coast is clear. He says, okay, you guys are good to go, and we come in. So yeah, totally unintentional, totally like audible needed to be called here. And we just, decided, okay, I thought he was coming. I was like, oh God, he's coming, guys. And then I realized, oh wait, no, he was actually walking backwards, not forwards. It's hard to tell with that stupid fucking model. But yeah, so now we just continue on the key. We basically just did the equivalent of a less efficient Pride invising. Pride invising, which is something we've been trying to incorporate a little bit more. I think I should have some more examples in the other keys that I'm uploading this week, or at least maybe the keys I upload next week, because I know we've done some already on the current Fortified Sanguine Quaking week. But the benefit of Invising and Pride, or I guess in this case just walking out, is you no longer have to commit resources, cooldowns, and most importantly time, because as you go up in key level, prides go from, a nice little boon to make certain encounters easier to like really like big damage sponges. And then, obviously the 30% increased damage you get from them doesn't scale up with key level, right? It's just 30%. I think it's 30%. Either way, whatever the value is that you get from killing a pride, that number does not scale up in key levels, whereas the life and damage dealt by the pride does scale up drastically. So as you start getting into these 19-20 ranges, it becomes a very real and common strategy, from what I understand, to just invis the pride, just walk away forehead. So I'm helping this guy out. I have my tank out here with these vicious gargans. They're giving him the old one too. This is not a fortified week, but it is still vicious gargans on a 19, and these guys put a very nasty bleed on you. So I covered this a little bit in my basic Windwalker utility guide, but it's very important to try to do your best to help your tank kite. I don't really use a lot of Tiger's Lust when I'm running with a Demon Hunter. But I do try to use ROP. I do try to use the large AoE slow from Flying Serpent Kick. And, if I absolutely have to, I try to use Disable as well, because you can root an enemy. If it's already slowed and you use Disable on an enemy, you'll root the enemy, I think, until they take damage or something. But either way, it's a very cool CC. Not a lot of specs have access to that sort of slow into root interaction, just based purely on using what would typically be a slow ability. Speaking of Demon Hunters, I believe this might be the first key I upload where my tank is playing his Demon Hunter. So obviously we started the season out with a Paladin, and we're actually we're still using the Paladin actually on some keys, some situations. But my tank did want to switch to the Demon Hunter mainly for Chaos Brand to sort of like enable our mage to do big damage. This became especially relevant after the sort of first round of Windwalker nerfs. But yeah, I don't think I need to explain to anybody that a well-empowered mage can just absolutely carry the DPS portion of what's necessary to time keys. So that's kind of why he switched in the first place. And then also we already have a Paladin healer, and I think I speak for him when I say he wasn't a huge fan of class stacking Paladins. We still run the Paladin a little bit, depending on what we're doing. I think he has a preference of like maybe he likes the Paladin more for fortified weeks, so he can sort of tank from range. And then maybe he likes his Demon Hunter more for boss weeks or tyrannical weeks. I'm not sure exactly what his preference is, but just having access to those two classes, providing sort of different strengths, different weaknesses. The main trade-off being Paladin does extreme amounts of damage from kiting from range, whereas a Demon Hunter is much tankier up close and personal with broken magic damage mitigation. For now, anyway. That is actually just recently changed. But yeah, so this is the first game uploading with the Demon Hunter, and you guys have seen Demon Hunters before, but they're very strong. They take very little magic damage. They take very little physical damage. And if you're just making sure you commit your cooldowns properly, use Firebrand when you need to, and you rotate Meta, Feldev, and Demon Strikes properly outside of it, you can just be a fucking broken tank. So moving on here, we're killing a Hawkus. I haven't actually talked much about the key yet. I feel like this is just because I've already uploaded a Hall as 18, so more I'm just talking about the new external factors that have sort of come into play here. But this is a pretty standard. I don't think this route is too different from what we did before. We did have a little bit of a different where instead of sort of dropping down and doing that pull that tends to get a little messy with all the groundskeepers and the loyal beast guy, we actually sort of took the stairs instead. And this just makes it a little bit comfier. And we're going up to get this Hawkus. I don't know if we forgot it for a second or not, but we're coming to kill him now. Got to kill the Hawkus before the boss becomes active. I think everybody knows that. We're just murdering him here. I think my cooldown usage has been pretty not greedy in this key. Actually, recently, and this was also sort of in light of the Windwalker nerfs that happened, I kind of decided to take a step back and try to reevaluate the way I was committing cooldowns in these keys, because we kind of walled around the 18 mark for what felt like a while. I think it was only like a week or something, but we kind of walled for a little bit, and I decided to sort of reevaluate how I was playing and try to commit cooldowns in ways that are much less greedy. Because at the end of the day, sometimes there's dangerous situations and things need to die. I think the most obvious one is like when Pride is up and everybody's playing chicken and nobody wants to use a cooldown. But I've been trying to get a little bit better about committing cooldowns where it makes sense and not just committing cooldowns to maximize my overall damage. Because at the end of the day, if you do a 7K overall but you don't time the key, like, who cares? You're not gonna go up in key levels. You're definitely not gonna go up in IO just by playing for overall. Maybe you can get by in pugs, but in a coordinated environment, like, there's no point in just mashing your head against the keyboard and playing for overalls, in my opinion, anyway. So that is part of why I'm committing my cooldowns here to this pack, because, we need to kill the pack quickly so we can get the pride quickly so we can blow up the boss. I guess you could actually call this kind of playing for overalls, because committing cooldowns to an AoE pack is always going to be better than committing cooldowns to a single target. But I still think it was smart there, because that pack can be kind of irritating, especially on Necrotic. That's a lot of mobs that sort of walk at your tank and stack up his Necrotic stacks. We're knocking out this pride. One thing I've started to do, and I think I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but I'll mention it now, is I've been trying to get smarter about my touch of death usage, because before, when I was more focused on personal performance, I would always just use touch of death on cooldown on mobs that I could execute for my full 41k life HP pool. But now I'm trying to make sure I commit my touch of deaths exclusively to prides. Oh, do I get feared here? I don't get feared. Well, that was a little bit close there. For those of you who don't know, if you stand outside of the red circle for too long, you get a fear on you. And I think you also take damage. I'm not sure, but either way, it's very easy to sort of like get caught outside of the circle and just have it lead to death. So if you look here at the way my tank is tanking this, I know this is more of like a tank thing than a DPS thing, but this fight's actually kind of interesting in that it's extremely brain dead easy for DPS if your tank tanks it correctly, because you can see here what my tank did is he moved the boss in such a way that the crumbling slams sort of all went more or less in the same location, and after 3 of them went off, he just moved the boss towards the middle of the arena. And because of that, we were able to very freely do the refracted sunlight mechanic while getting 100% uptime on the boss without being in fear of dying at all. And now my cooldowns come back up again. It's actually kind of nice keeping a nice consistent amount of damage going out on this boss here, even though everybody's other cooldowns have fallen off and I don't get to like maximize my damage with pride. It's, still making sure this boss continues to fall over at a steady pace. Keep in mind, this is Tyrannical 19, so I don't know what the exact number was, but I'm guessing he had something like 2.4, maybe 2.5 million life. So we're killing him here. The Stoneborns are also very important, something that we like to do with this boss. I don't think this is particularly uncommon, but we grab one Stoneborn at the start, and then we go get our second Stoneborn when the first one wears off. You can get them both right away at the start, but because we run with a warrior, it's actually very easy to have her sort of leap away and go grab the Stoneborns, because the mechanic that keeps you from leaping away is a fear mechanic, and warriors don't actually have to worry about fear in any meaningful capacity. So what she does is after the first Stoneborn goes away, she heroic leaps out. She possesses, or sometimes my tank will taunt it out, but I think it's kind of far away now. So she'll leap out, she'll grab one, and she'll pop. I think it's not a rage regeneration, Zerker's Rage. That's what it's called. So we're going right, and I don't know how popular this route is in the sort of high-end Mythic Plus meta, but it's something that we sort of worked on together. My tank, my warrior, and I actually, the 3 of us loaded into a normal halls, and we're like, hey, let's clear up to the second boss, and let's take a look and see what this right side area looks like, because we've been running left side like non-stop since the start of the expansion. I think that's just kind of like the way people do it. I don't really think most people even consider this right side here, but we kind of like it. There's a lot more room to move around, and I think there's also a Stoneborn that is only accessible on the right side. Either way, we mainly just did this to get easy access to another Stoneborn for the second boss, because we find Echelon to be a very irritating and difficult boss. So the main reason we're on the right side here is just so we can get access to that Stoneborn. And you'll see how we do it shortly. It's actually on me to go grab the Stoneborn for my warrior because I can do it pretty quickly. I don't think I actually do it like super efficiently or anything, but it is kind of cool, and I'll point it out when we get there. So we're just doing the Reaver and the Ankle Biters here. This is not a particularly dangerous pack. I do think the Eviscerator that pulls with the Reaver there can potentially mess people up on fortified weeks. But as you can see here on tyrannical weeks, there's just like nothing going on there. And then I just get powerful swiped from inside that mob. That was kind of sad. I tried to like walk through him, and I figured if I could be on the back half of the slasher, I wouldn't get hit by the powerful swipe, but I guess I was still technically in front of the mob there. So we're just knocking this guy out here. He has quite a bit of life. This is actually, this is kind of a awkward moment for us because this is our first time actually executing this route like in a real key. So I'm not sure, like, I don't think anybody's optimizing cooldowns here, like at all. Like I think I used my cooldowns on that pack. I think my mage is completely holding combust. We totally could have combusted this. I could have committed a single SEF charge to this. My warrior could have avatared this, but I think none of us are like really like super comfortable with cooldown usage here. Like, you know how you run a lot of keys and you start to sort of internalize timings and stuff? Like, we don't have that in any capacity here. So my tank is doing the latter half of this pull here. I actually don't. Okay, we let that go off, but I think that can be purged. I think that can be removed. Either way, it's fine. He only got it on himself. I think he turns to stone everybody around him. So like if he just puts on himself, like it's whatever. So my tank is just fucking man-moding this here. 30 necrotic stacks, no problems. Metamorphosis is a good cooldown. See if he gets the reset here. Oh, he gets it easy, no problem. So yeah, again, this is just weird, right? Like I probably could have committed Zuen here to that pull. Like there's a good amount of mobs. These slashers have a pretty high amount of life. Something like 600k life on tyrannical, which is actually like a pretty large number. So, we could have committed cooldowns here. And we do lose a little bit of time here overall, but it's not the end of the world. It's just sort of us like learning the timings. And I think we do actually go on to do a 19 of this, a different 19 of this that I chose not to record because I already knew we had this sort of example here. But the second time that we do this sort of strategy, we are much more efficient about it. Okay, so we're going up here, and I'm going to set my Transcendence, I think. I'm waiting. I don't want to get powerful slashed off the side. Set my Transcendence there for a fun little secret that'll help us later. Mickey Mouse meme.jpg. So we're working on killing this slasher here. Sev does decide to combust this. I think that was a really good choice because he's easily going to have it up again by the time we finish the Pride. 19 is like still the range for us where we can get away with not committing huge cooldowns to Prideful. Like I think we are going to Avatar C Smash this, but obviously Avatar is not going to be as much of a cooldown as Combust. Combust is like the Mythic Plus cooldown. So here I'm going to help hit this Prideful a little bit here. And I do actually need to go make a play with my Transcendence shortly, but I'm going to start by DPSing the Prideful a little bit here. All right, overcap on Chi. Very cringe. Overcapping on Chi while playing Ascension, just side note, not something I recommend. So I Transcendence down there. I go over this way, do a very short little Tiger Sweep there. I taunt this thing, and then I Tiger's Lust my way back up. There was a faster way to do that involved a much longer flying Serpent Kick, but I didn't really want to do it because it was kind of scary. So we got the Stoneborn coming up here. This probably just hits TOD range, gets in there. My tank goes into pull and my warrior grabs the Stoneborn and we feel like absolute bosses. That's like one of the coolest moments of keys for me is when you like spend a long time like planning out like a new strategy or whatever, and then you go to execute it and it like works out. It's so satisfying. And again, that wasn't like the fastest I could have done that. What I really could have done there is set a Transcendence right at the top, flying Serpent Kick all the way down, and then Transcendence back. But I just kind of played it a little bit safe there. I Karma here because these ads actually do a huge amount of damage as well as when they're exploding. And I mean, like their cast does a lot of damage, but their explosion actually does quite a bit of damage as well. And that's a little bit sketch because now I'm not going to have a good defensive for when he actually jumps on me, if he ever does. But, you know, I can get a bop. I can always diffuse the nature damage dot so it doesn't hurt me as bad. I don't think it goes back onto the boss, but it certainly doesn't hit as hard. So this is a little bit awkward here. But he decurses. No, he doesn't get the decurse off. Damn. This was a little bit awkward here because we had one guy and he just came up there at the last second. So this is a little bit sketch. But we're going to just try to kill these. And luckily we don't pop them all at the same time. If we were to pop them all at the same time, I would not be surprised if like anybody who was below like 80% life would just die on the spot. I Haymaker the Vile Fiend in there. Colterian confirmed best Mythic plus spec. I roll out at the last second. There's a little dot on that guy. He dies at the last second, and then we blow up every single mob. Except for that one in the back, but, you know, fuck him. So overall, you know, this is a this is a very hefty boss. I think you guys can kind of understand why we ended up getting the Stoneborn here now. This is just a notoriously annoying boss. He has a lot of life. His mechanics are very punishing to mess up, and he can just do a lot of damage. Even his autos are just completely rip open a tank's health pool. Look at all these ads casting. Look at that, my healer died. That's pretty scary. Okay, we got them all. I'm just gonna go for the res here. Not even close, baby. A wise man once said that, I think. Ancient Chinese wisdom. So we're gonna res here. I don't know what I'm doing here. I guess I'm resing Sykes. I don't know why. Why am I trying to compete with my 30% haste Holy Paladin? I don't know. Find out next week. Okay, I stopped. Good. We're going to pull this over here. We're going to imprison that one Gargan in the back. I think most of you guys know and have noticed by now that the Gargans just tear up my tank when a Loyal Beast cast goes off, or even like if he just tanks like, you know, more than 3 debuffs. So we're going to DB that. I guess I leg sweep the DB. Our kit coordination is not A1 in this run, but I mean, it's better than last time I uploaded a hulls, that's for sure. We've really been trying to sort of improve on that. And I think overall we're getting better. We're still not perfect, but, you know, that's fine. We don't need to be perfect. If we were perfect, you know, this game wouldn't be very fun now, would it? So we got that Gargan there. I guess we're leaving him imprisoned. We might just release him on the next poll because there's not like super scary stuff on the next poll, at least on Tyrannical. On Fortified, we really want to be able to kick those wicked bolts, but I don't think it really matters right now. Especially during this recording, Demon Hunter still has the broken magic damage mitigation. So like he's just getting nailed for like nothing right now by the wicked bolts. Curses are going off. We can decurse them. Not a big deal. The collect sins is going off. I guess you could argue that's important to kick, but on a Fortified or on a Tyrannical week, rather, I don't think that kind of cast is really going to wipe our run. That being said, my take is running for his life currently, 28 necrotic stacks, trying to make sure he gets a reset. Comes back in here to tank a little bit. I don't know if this Gargan actually got a Loyal Beasts buff. It doesn't look like it. He looked like he was just a little big there for a second on my screen. But my tank comes back in. He's got meta. He's okay. He's living. Deadly Thrust. I just want to say I'm very proud of myself here. I don't think I got hit by a single Deadly Thrust this run. Maybe there was one at the start. I do tend to get hit by the Deadly Thruster right after the first pull, but as far as I can tell, if I did get hit by one, it didn't kill me, so, you know, who cares? Am I right? Am I right? No, I'm not right, but that's okay. I'll say it anyway. So we move on here, and we're going to go do this boss, and we're not actually going to use a single Stoneborn for this boss. This is scary. We're at 7.5 minutes here. We have 2 tyrannical bosses ahead of us. This is definitely something that could go wrong, but I think at this point, nobody really thinks we're timing this key, if I'm going to be honest. But that's part of why I wanted to upload it, because it's a pretty cool comeback story. But we're just doing this boss as quickly as we can. Just try to do the mechanics, try to be solid on it. We're not committing Stoneborns because we need them for the next room. There's something we have to do that is really only going to be possible with Stoneborns. So we're giving him the murder here. This is actually a very Resident Sleeper boss. I was talking about it with my my friends here, and I agreed. I think the healer and I agreed this is probably the most boring boss in the entire expansion of Dungeons. There's like there's no like interesting mechanics. There's no like room for playing around stuff. All you have to do is don't stand in the swirlies, set up a kick order, and walk away from the ad. Like, very boring. Also very, very boring to tank. I don't actually know if the tank can get the fixate. Maybe it can. It can. Now that I think about it, because I remember my tank was talking about how he got the fixate a few times in a row, and he was like, I never get the fixate. Yeah, you can get the fixate as the tank, but this is still like a very boring fight. Honestly, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about for 1.2 million life. Shadowlands. Good stuff. Yeah. I love High Adjudicator Alice. We talk about Windwalker changes. I was actually very surprised that we got compensation buffs for the bug fixes, because it was actually rather interesting when I took a look at the changes to Windwalker, like in Warcraft logs, to like see what happened. Obviously, the average went way down, but the upper percentile, aka the Windwalkers who like really know how to kick ass and play the spec, were still performing really well. I think for like just 1 week, maybe it was like 1 or 2 weeks there, Windwalkers had some of the highest variance of any spec in the game. Like, people that knew how to play the spec well were still performing very competitively with it. Also, fun fact, you can actually taunt these guys, and if you're playing a monk, obviously it doesn't work with other specs, but if you're playing a monk and you taunt these guys, you can make them move faster. Definitely kick those volleys. I don't know why nobody kicked that volley. But yeah, that was definitely not something I expected, and it's really done super well for us. You're like, I don't think I have a very good showing in this key, especially since I've been trying to play less greedy and less for impressive overalls. But there, like, you can hit some very nice numbers once again now, especially if you like have like a low target count and you just Fist of Fury a little bit before you have your Mark of the Crane stacks up. You can get some like really nice burst. Okay, so you can see what we're doing here is we're trying to one-shot this guy, because if you can one-shot this guy, it saves you so much time. And the reason why I have 2 loyal Stoneburns is because if your Venthyr player is able to very, very quickly click and commit and grab a Stoneborn, you can actually grab another Stoneborn really quickly. I think that's how it works. I've never actually done it myself, but my point is, if you're quick to click, you will actually be able to get 2 Stoneborns. And as you can see here, she's doing 19k DPS, so that's pretty good. And actually, the fact that we did that without Combust is obscene. Like, that's crazy. I think the moment this happened, this is when we realized, okay, wait, we still time this key. Like, 3 minutes for a tyrannical boss can be a little spooky, but this is not a boss that takes a ton of time. Like, there are some bosses in this expansion, and I've talked about it a little bit with my friends, but really just the idea that bosses have like artificially inflated sort of lengths, like, for example, like Plaguefall bosses, Dr. Ickes, Margrave Stradama, I think is her name. It is very common to have a boss that's just going to take 20 years arbitrarily because of the design of the boss, not because you have bad damage, not because you don't do mechanics, but just takes a long time. This is not one of those bosses. This boss has like, technically you can get like something like 95% uptime. The only time you really have to walk out is if you're melee. Then you don't want to get hit by the circle. Sev is going to definitely get hit here. No, he dodged it. What a badass. I thought he was going to get hit. So Sev also does have like kind of a nemesis moment on these towers here. Yeah, that's the only thing that you really have to walk out for. I guess you technically don't want to stand near him when he teleports to the middle and does a Door of Shadows, but that's not that big of a deal. Yeah, Sev gets hit by the tower sometimes, and we always feel bad for him because it's like he's either like not targeted at all, or he's targeted like 17 times in a row, and it's like, what the fuck, game? Why you got to do him like that? So this mechanic here, I actually don't fully understand this, but there's a way to like have only a couple people soak this, and we don't actually really know the details of how it works. So I think everybody just kind of like walks in the middle and we hope for the best. Probably something I would want to have a better understanding of for next time. Yeah, there's the Cauterize right there. But he's fine. That's what Cauterize is there for. But we just kind of like run into the middle there and we just soak it. we hope for the best that the people that have defensives up are the one that actually get the dot. So I'm backing up a little bit here. We're letting the tower sort of move to the middle. I'm playing really safe. I should have walked into the middle instantly to do damage because we're like really like, getting close here. We have another combust up. Sev is popping off here. We get like one tick off. Not 100% sure why that happens. But again, that probably just goes back to not having a great understanding of this fight. But the good news is that mechanic is done. Oh, also we have Sev die here, and this is actually kind of shitty, but this is not anybody's fault. We check on it a little bit after. We look at details, we watch the VOD, and it's actually a very bizarre bug. We do the Ritual of Woe soak, and literally after Ritual of Woe ends, he dies to Ritual of Woe. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like literally the dot has gone through its whole 10 seconds worth of ticking, and then like 3 seconds later, he like ticks for the dot and dies. Very bizarre. Doesn't make any sense at all. Might have something to do with immunity. I don't know. We're getting so close to the end here. We have 24 seconds. We have 130k life. I think at this point is when I'm realizing, hey, we're going to fucking time this key. We're going to do it. Let's go 20k, 5k, easy. And we end the key. That was a super bizarre commentary. I apologize for being so all over the place, but this was just a crazy key. Not like the best key, I don't know, like the cleanest key in the world, but like we did so much weird shit. We had the moment where we had to run out of the dungeon. We had the moment where we went on the right side for the first time. We had the moment where I had to go grab that stone board for the first time. We had the moment where we had to kill the ad before the last boss, like one phase in for the first time, and that was all just super crazy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this clown key. I had a lot of fun, and hope to see you guys soon. We have a upcoming Plaguefall and Other Side 19 from this week on Tyrannical, and I look forward to sharing those with you guys. Have a good one.